The cold is unforgiving. It forces men to adapt, but also to overcome, and to shoulder their burdens with dignity and durability. In the grand narrative of A Song of Ice and Fire, the greatsword Ice embodied this sentiment like no other person, place, or thing. A colossal weapon forged of Valyrian steel and passed down for generations in the great house of the Starks, ice became a fundamental aspect of the northern identity. It represented the heartiness of the Starks and their blunt sense of integrity, until it was pried from their chilled hands and melted away by the forges of southern usurpers. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Exploring Fiction. When the greatsword Ice appeared in A Song of Ice and Fire, it perfectly personified the ideals of the North. In the hands of Eddard Stark and his ancestors before him, it served as a tool for ruthless justice. While softer southern lords recruited headsmen to carry out their dirty work, the Northmen forced themselves to deliver punishment, so as to remain both humble and noble in their thoughts and actions. So, what is ice? Who wielded it? What became of it? And why is it so interesting? Let's explore. Though the name ice dated all the way back to the Age of Heroes, the blade seen in recent time was forged with spells and flames about 400 years before Robert Baratheon sat on the Iron Throne. Carrying the rippling effects common in all Valyrian steel, ice is smoky and dark. The weapon is two-handed, stands 6 feet tall, and is as wide as the hand of a grown man. 50 years after Aegon Targaryen's conquest of the continent of Westeros, ice was notably wielded by Lord Walton Stark to execute rebels among the ranks of the Night's Watch. The next prominent use of ice was during the Hour of the Wolf after the Dance of the Dragons, where Lord Cregan Stark, during his brief rule in King's Landing, killed Lord Larys Strong and Sir Giles Belgrave. Continuing on down the Stark family tree, ice eventually fell into the hands of one Lord Eddard Stark. Almost immediately, ice is seen in A Game of Thrones. In the hills outside Winterfell, Lord Eddard Stark and his company, which includes his sons and his ward Theon Greyjoy, hold and question Garrod, a deserter from the Night's Watch. The interrogation fares poorly, as Garrod is too overtaken by fear to discern what's going on. Faced with no other choice, Eddard takes up ice and personally beheads the man, dispensing justice in the way of the old gods. Lord Stark once again uses the moment as a lesson for his sons, showing that a true leader punishes criminals himself, so the weight of death and duty can be felt. Returning to Winterfell, Eddard retreats to the Godswood and cleans the greatsword with oiled leather, reluctant to tarnish the haunting blade. Called by his old friend to be Hand of the King, Eddard sets out from Winterfell with his daughters Sansa and Arya for King's Landing. However, partway through their journey, Prince Joffrey is attacked by Arya's direwolf Nymeria in an act of defense. The prince complains that the wolf was trying to kill him, and Queen Cersei calls for the beast's head. Nymeria has disappeared, however, so King Robert allows for the killing of Sansa's direwolf Lady in its place. Sir Ilyn Payne, the royal executioner, is chosen to carry out the task, but Lord Eddard volunteers instead, smiting down Lady with ice. Eddard orders the bones sent back to Winterfell, and the court continues on its way. Once entrenched in King's Landing, Lord Eddard finds himself deep in the folds of a grand power struggle, and after the death of King Robert, finds himself with a dwindling list of allies. Lord Stark is thrown into the Black Cells, and ice is confiscated, gifted to Sir Ilyn Payne as a new headsman's blade. The mute man wears it in a scabbard on his back, though it is almost the same height as he. Joffrey, now king after his father's death, declares Ned guilty, and the final Lord of Winterfell to possess ice is beheaded by his own blade as the population of King's Landing watches. In A Clash of Kings, ice remains in the possession of Ilyn Payne. As one of his conditions to end his part in the War of the Five Kings, Robb Stark sends word to acting Hand of the King Tyrion Lannister that he wishes for ice to be returned to him in one piece. But Tyrion refuses and explains he'll only give back the sword when peace is made. In a paramount event in the war, the Battle of the Blackwater rages outside King's Landing, but Sir Ilyn Payne is kept in the Queen's ballroom with the highborn women, including Queen Cersei and Sansa Stark. At first, Cersei explains that the headsman is a last resort of protection, but later reveals he has orders to kill both Sansa and Cersei if Stannis is to be victorious. As the tumult of the battle outside the confines of Maegor's Holdfast crawls on, Cersei orders Sir Ilyn to kill 3 servants who attempt to escape. Payne fells the 3 individuals, and when he returns to the ballroom, Sansa notices ice is covered in dried blood, and that it has been quite some time since Ilyn cleaned the weapon. Eventually, Stannis is defeated, and King Joffrey and his men round up many captives. Before the Iron Throne, the prisoners are forced to swear fealty, but those who still claim loyalty to Stannis Baratheon are executed on the spot by Sir Ilyn Payne, still wielding ice. A storm of swords sees the end of the greatsword in its gargantuan form. Disillusioned with the symbol of the North, Lord Tywin Lannister commissions blacksmith Tobo Mott to reforge ice into 2 smaller Valyrian blades. These become Widow's Wail, Sword of King Joffrey and King Tommen in his stead, and Oathkeeper, gifted to Sir Jaime Lannister and then to Brienne of Tarth. Seeing ice absent from Sir Ilyn Payne's back, Tyrion regrets withholding the sword from Robb Stark, who is now dead from the treachery at the Red Wedding. Instead, while Widow's Wail sits in the Red Keep, waiting for its wielder to come of age, Oathkeeper travels with Brienne in a hunt for the missing Sansa Stark, once again serving the North. Still, neither blade is ice, whose visage is gone from the world after a little over 400 years. Though ice is no more, the lessons it taught in the hands of Lord Eddard are present in both of his eldest sons. Robb Stark, the king in the North, beheads Lord Rickard Karstark for the killing of prisoners, and Jon Snow, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, executes Janos Slynt for disobeying orders. While the killings hardly please the young men, they better realize the levity of their respective positions from them, a message passed down by their father and his sword. Ice signifies a great deal in A Song of Ice and Fire, and stands as a testament to the harsh judgment of the North. As Ned Stark wields it and uses it to kill capital offenders, he shoulders full responsibility for dealing out death. Each final blow weighs heavy on his shoulders, but he insists it grounds him and keeps him humble to the old gods despite his high position amongst men. The brutality of carrying out beheadings as a lord with the summoning of a headsman only a wave away allows for not only the enacting of justice, but the understanding of its importance and the toll of crimes and death. Ice is a glorious blade in the hands of the Starks, but also a sharp reminder of what it means to rule. When ice falls into the lap of Sir Ilyn Payne, however, that teaching and understanding is neglected. While the North is a place of grit and responsibility, King's Landing is a locale kept alive by hunger for power and penchant for deception. Ice becomes unclean, in both a physical and metaphorical sense. Payne forgets to clean the blade, or simply ignores the need to do so, and soon dried blood cakes its rippling surface. Ice is no longer handled with care for either the sword itself or the consequences brought upon by it, and while it still carries a hefty physical weight, the weight of responsibility is gone. It still dispenses justice, such as in the beheading of Eddard Stark, its previous owner, but that justice is from the twisted perspective of the sly Lannisters. It is made a further tool for the Lions of the West when it is destroyed. Split in two and reforged in flame, ice becomes an antithesis of itself in the form of the 2 Lannister blades, and though Oathkeeper is tasked with protecting Sansa Stark, it carries less renown and meaning than its previous form. No weapon of the North was more recognizable than the 6-foot greatsword Ice. Passed down the Stark bloodline for 400 years, the blade was used in war and peace, but particularly in the hands of Lord Eddard Stark, it served as a symbol of the burden of duty and the heaviness of rule. This lesson he passed on to his sons until his death at the hands of his very blade, carried by a man who cared not for the tradition of the North. While ice was eventually melted down and turned into new blades, the impact of its ruthless justice in the narrative could hardly be questioned. So, that's all for this video. Leave a comment with your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you. Visit my website, russellawellsauthor.com, for exclusive fiction and more, and sign up for my mailing list for free exclusive content. The links for both are in the description below. And like always, I will see you next time.